Hello and welcome to the program Meet Professionals with me, IBKB. Well, Meet Professionals is a platform where I engage high-level discussions with entrepreneurs, leaders, academics, researchers, policymakers, change management experts, and many more. Well, for today's edition, I have with me a very esteemed legal practitioner, someone who has been leading the fight against corruption, someone who has been mentoring a lot of young people in Sierra Leone and also the continent at large. He is Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala. Hello and welcome again, Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala, to the program Meet Professionals.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here today.
Okay, good. So we want to also congratulate you on your recent appointment as being elected to the African Union Advisory Board. We want to congratulate you for actually raising the flag high.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start real quick. We want to know a brief background about who Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala is, from where you started to where you are now as a commissioner.
Well, I'm just a normal kid. I was born somewhere in the eastern part of Sierra Leone, Penembu. That's where my father comes from. My mother comes from Kwendu. I started school there, then the war came, and we had to travel partly in Liberia, partly in Guinea. Then returned to Sierra Leone. I was living in Moritown, went to the grammar school, and then went to Fairfield College. That's basically my background. I'm a Sierra Leonean, typical.
Yeah.
And I had all the fun that children could have growing up.
Okay. So, yes, you made mention of growing up. So, growing up, did you ever think of becoming a legal practitioner, or it was part of your parents' dream for you to become a lawyer or a legal practitioner?
No, it was actually my desire to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be a lawyer.
Wow.
And I remember when I was a kid, we were acting a story called The Incorruptible Judge.
Okay.
And anybody who has read that little book will see that there was a great role of lawyers there and things like that. It was one of the things that really raised my interest in becoming a lawyer. And to be honest, I never wanted to be anything else.
Wow. So you always wanted to be that lawyer?
I always wanted to be a lawyer or a judge.
Good. So again, before we dive into the discussion proper, there's something that I want to know, and viewers also would want to know. What are your basic principles about life?
Well, I believe that the time we live on earth is so short compared to the lifespan of the world itself. So it's about doing things that can leave a good footprint. So I believe in honesty. I believe in hard work. I believe in enjoying your life.
Yeah.
And I also believe in going for what you can do to help humanity in a short time that you'll be on earth.
Wow.
So those are the principles that guide me. And
so how influential or how important are these principles to your success?
I think they have been very useful for my success. So for example, if you take integrity, for example, when I was a lawyer, nobody really cared about what I do, but I tried my best to make sure that I deal with people honestly, I treat people fairly, and make sure that I don't send a bad image about who a lawyer can be. But I didn't know that people were taking notice of this thing. So when the time came for my appointment to be commissioner, if you were in Sierra Leone, you would know it was a popular call. It was people on social media, people who I didn't even know. Even when I met the president for the first time, he told me that, look, everybody I've spoken to said you are the man for this job. So I think that it is because I had that principle in me that even got me to where I am. People could vouch for me when I was not there. I was studying in the US when the election was over. I was not even in Sierra Leone at all. But I was called to come back and be commissioner of the ACC because of that track record of honesty, of doing what you can with diligence and care. And these are the things that really...
For me, I think those values are very much key when you talk of success, because no matter the space that we find ourselves in, those values are key.
Oh yes, I mean, always trying to give it your best. For example, when I was going to school, for example, I always come first in class. But I didn't come first in class because I was a genius. It's because I was really studying very hard.
Yeah.
When I went to law school with poverty, I I couldn't even afford my fee. I had to beg somebody to borrow me money to pay my law school fees. But I was driven out of class several times, I'm sure up to 10 times.
Wow.
In that 1 year that I was at the Sierra Leone Law School. But I still came first to be the star pupil at the law school. So it was that determination, keeping your eyes on the ball. And even in this job, as you know, it's a job that comes with a lot of topsy-turvies and things happening here, there and there. But I always keep my eye on the ball. I keep my emotion in control, and I try to give it my all and give it my best. So that determination, what they call grit, is what I think takes me from where I am to somewhere else every time.
Wow, I like that, the point that you just made just now. Grit is very key, because it tells you from the standpoint from where you are now to where you want to be in the future.
Grit is that extreme determination.
Very important.
It goes beyond just mere determination. It's that says no matter what everybody does,
I can go get it.
I can get there.
And you are that go-getter person.
That is how my life has been. I always set goals and I go for them. And with the help of God, I try to get there.
Okay, great. I'd like to hold the conversation there. Let's go for a short break and we will be right back.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome again to the program Meet Professionals with me, IBKB. Well, Meet Professionals is a program where I hold conversations with esteemed guests. Well, for today's edition, I have been joined by the Commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala. We've been moving the conversation of where he started as a young man to where he is now as a Commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Commission. So, welcome again, Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala, to the show.
Thank you, Kebe. I'm always happy to be
here. Okay, so now let's dive in deep. So what's your role? What does the ACC do?
Well, as Commissioner of the ACC, I am supposed really to lead a team to lead the effort of the fight against corruption in Sierra Leone using various strategies. And one is prevention. The other is public education. I'm supposed to lead the mobilization and support of the public and enlist them to help in the fight against corruption. I'm also supposed to lead investigations into issues of corruption and ensure that they are punished.
Okay.
Through prosecution or otherwise. So that is really what the ACC does. Our role is to use every means necessary to eradicate, to suppress, or to reduce corruption in Sierra Leone.
So let's put into perspective how big of a problem corruption is to Sierra Leone.
I think every report, for example, after the war, the TRC did say that one of the biggest reasons that we had a 10 years war was corruption. And every report into issues of Sierra Leone shows that corruption was one of the main problems. So even the recent survey that was done by the Center for Accountability and Rule of Law, over 50% of the citizens did say, 52% exactly did say that corruption is still a major problem in Sierra Leone. So it's one of those really urgencies of today that we have to do something about.
Yeah, so the issue of corruption is something that the continent really faces, and it's something that has actually affected our growth. So now there are a lot of reports, there are a lot of surveys conducted about corruption in the continent, and quite recently the Transparency International conducted theirs for the 2020, and we were ranked 117. Is that a good score for Sierra Leone? Or?
Well, as you know, when you are dealing with other countries, it's not about just what you do in your country. It's comparative to what other people do. And you also have to look at it from why Sierra Leone is particularly happy that we are this, because you have to see that for the past 3 years, we have been moving upwards in all indexes.
Right.
So, for example, when I became commissioner back in 2018, Sierra Leone was at 130. Okay? Now we moved 10 places in 2019 to 119, and now we have also moved to 117. If you look at the MCC Control of Corruption scorecard, for example, we were failing at 49% when I became commissioner in 2018. Fast forward, we first moved immediately from 49% to 71%. That's a huge leap if you know how corruption is measured. And then we moved to 79% in 2019. And then in 2020, we moved to 81%. The same thing for Afrobarometer. When Afrobarometer did a survey, corruption prevalence in 2017 was higher, 70%. Imagine a country where the corruption prevalence is 70%. It's a damaging situation. But the survey that was done in 2019 showed that corruption has reduced from 70% to 43%. The one that was done in 2020 shows that corruption has reduced from even further to 40%. So why I'm taking you on this journey is to give you insights as to why we have to celebrate. It's about where we have come from.
Okay.
And where we are going. But it's not just where we are going, it's about the speed at which we are going.
Okay.
To leap in 2 years from 49% to 81% by any margin, that is coming from failure to excellence.
Yeah.
It shows that as a country, what we are doing, the strategies we are applying, the efforts that we are collectively putting together in the fight against corruption is yielding fruit. So to answer your question, until we get to plus or minus 80, there's still a lot of work to do when it comes to fighting corruption. We are not the elites of the fight against corruption yet, but trust me, in the few years, in the past 3 years, there has been no country in Africa that has enjoyed such massive leap in the indexes when it comes to corruption control, and that is what the country has to celebrate. And it gives us a lot of promise that if we continue on this trajectory, we will be somewhere where we can be very, very proud in the next few years.
Right. That takes us to the question one may want to ask. I think you're one of the youngest, if not the youngest, to have actually occupied such a very strategic position as the Anti-Corruption Commissioner. So as a young man, how do you see age? Because the reason why I'm saying this, a lot of other countries in the continent, Africa to be specific, most times we have people in their 50s, 60s occupying the position of a commissioner. But here you are as a very young man occupying that position. So take us through some of the challenges you are facing as a young man.
Yeah, so you know, when you are a young person occupying a position, trust me, the challenges you face are enormous, okay?
Right.
When you do things because of your nature, you want to produce results quickly. Yeah. They say you have youthful exuberance.
Yeah.
And that is meant to knock you down, okay? If you are too slow again, they have a way of describing it. If they talk to you and you answer, they say you know too much.
Yeah.
If you don't answer, they say you are disrespectful. So you are in a situation where you almost cannot win. Even your colleagues, your peers, right. Okay, if your views are not in line with what they think, either maybe because some of them can be very silly in what they think can bring change because of their inexperience, because they are not sitting in the position that you are.
Right.
The moment you disagree with them, they say you are arrogant. So imagine having all these adjectives thrown at you as you try to produce results in the position as a young person. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
It's something that I discuss with my colleagues, for example, like David Senge, the Minister of Education. We have this conversation all the time. It's like you cannot win. So it takes a lot of emotional control for you to continue doing what you do day to day, because people are throwing youthful experience at you. They are calling you arrogant. They are calling you disrespectful. And they are saying power has gone into your head. Yeah, yeah. You have to
because we live in a continent or a country, to be specific, where we're too stereotypical.
Yes.
Wherein we think a young man cannot lead a fight, or
yes.
You know. So these are things that sometimes get in the way.
Yes. So, in fact, it goes beyond that. For example, we have what we call chronic societal cynicism, where people do not expect good to come out of you. They are used to bad so much that they think that life has a malignant outcome all the time. So you cannot succeed, you cannot do it, or if you do it, it's because of personal gain, it's because you have some ambition, you want to get somewhere. They will never look at it from the point of view of this. So the best thing you can do is like what we are doing now at the ACC. The results are there. I have just told you the statistics. Yeah. It's excellent. Yeah. It's mind-blowing if you really understand what is happening and where we have come from as a country and where we are. We have even qualified from the MCC, which is a multi-million-dollar grant. because principally we are fighting corruption amongst other things that we are doing as a country. So these are all the kinds of results that you can look back at and say, okay, you call me youthful experience, but this is what it is. There were older people who occupied these positions before me. There are older people who have tried to do these things, but the results speak for themselves. Every index now, where we are, we have never been before. We have the highest score, we have the highest rating, we have the highest positioning ever.
So do you think Sierra Leoneans, in terms of abiding to law, how do you see the general or the common Sierra Leone in terms of abiding to laws? Because I read an article on the corruption index about Singapore, how they fought corruption. And it was something that they started right at the top and it gets to the bottom, not bottom-top approach. So in terms of law-abiding citizens, how do you see Sierra Leoneans?
I think really what Sierra Leone has been suffering is not really whether they can be law-abiding. It's about enforcing the law against them.
Right.
It's about doing what has to be done to change the country. And we have a culture of leniency. We have a culture of forgiveness. We have a culture where people do willful things that are wrong. And they come, yes, sir, sorry, sir. Oh, something was there. My child was sick and all these things. And we have to understand these things. And even in my duty, this is what I tell them. Duty is duty. In fact, love is the death of duty. So, for example, my staff will always do things that are wrong. And I say suspend him. And you see all the office coming and they are falling on the ground begging me. And I sit down there, I look at them. I said, okay, thank you very much. HR director, please go and do the letter. Because as a country, we have to take our destiny more seriously than we are doing.
Okay.
A lot of the things that are doing, people know they are wrong. Everybody who is corrupt knows that corruption is bad, but he's just doing it for his own selfish gain. So we have to be more robust in our actions towards them, towards all of us. We have to be more responsible as a people. And therefore, when it comes to law enforcement, for example, people who are selling in the streets, they know that they are selling in the streets. They should not be there. People who are going and building houses where they should not build it, they know they should not build it there. People who go and cause damage to public property and all these things, they know they should not do it. I think we just need to be a little bit more robust with our actions. These same people, when they go overseas, trust me, they are the most law-abiding citizens.
Right. Yeah.
Because there, the laws are enforced and everybody knows the consequences of their action. You are more likely not to get away with it than to get away with it. It is just that mentality we have to deploy in the system. Sierra Leone will never be the same again.
Yeah, I think that makes so much sense because, again, when we move to other countries, we often respect their law. We often go by their values and all the rest of it. But when we're back home, we fail to do the things that we're supposed to do.
It's because people who are responsible to enforce the laws are not enforcing it. People who are supposed to, so for example, I and the judiciary are doing very well trying our cases fast. But when it comes to imposing punishment, custodial sentences, for example, 5 years minimum, send the man to prison. Okay. They are not willing to do so because they think that it is, until we are ready to jail people for corruption for 25 years, 30 years, 40 years, and people know that they have been sent there, then we are ready. So do you think people will say, for example, Kaifala, why are you not jailing people? Kaifala does not jail people. It's the judiciary who has to jail people. Kaifala has, out of 40 cases that are sent to court, we have won 36 of them. But how many are in prison? Kaifala does not imprison anybody. It's the judiciary who has to impose custodial sentence. And it ties in with the same thing we are talking. If we are ready, really, if we say we are ready to fight corruption, so Kaifala does not have to beg the judiciary to do that. So
in terms of the readiness, do you think we need strong people, or better still, we need better or strong institutions? Because if you are talking of implementation, enforcement, I think we need stronger institutions that enforces the law, because Sierra Leone now, the law enforcement agencies are very key when you talk of corruption.
Listen, let's not fool ourselves. Leadership is not about institutions, it's about people.
Right.
It's about persons. It's about individuals.
Okay.
Okay? If you have individuals who are capable of running institutions, the institutions will work. So, the judicial building is not going to enforce itself. It's a judge who has the mind and heart, the education and the fortitude to apply the law without fear or favor that will do it. If a president, the presidency is nothing without the man. The office is the man. That is why I disagree with Barack Obama when he said that Africa needs strong institutions, not strong people. But countries that have been changed because they firstly have strong men and women. If we talk about the Paul Kagames today, if we talk about the Jerry Rawlings, every country that has been changed was because there were men with backbone to drive its change forward. So let's not fool ourselves. Institutions do nothing if the men who are there, the women who are there, are not ready to change it. The ACC,
it is the people that make up the institution.
The ACC will be useless if a strong person is not there to make sure that the anti-corruption laws are applied and enforced. So let's not fool ourselves about institutions. Institutions are nothing without people.
Because it is the people that makes up the institution.
Yes.
So when you have strong people, you have a strong
institutions. Yes. It's about what has happened to Sierra Leone is really because we do not have that critical mass of people to drive the change that the country needs. So for example, if I am at the ACC and I'm a strong person, you have another strong person at the Ministry of Justice, you have another strong person leading the judiciary, you have a strong president firstly, and you have strong people everywhere. The strength of the institutions will come out because there are strong people there. If you put people without backbone, no matter how strong the institution is, they will break it down. So let's not fool ourselves. What we really need in Sierra Leone is to raise people with backbone, with leadership skills, with ability to drive the change that the country needs, and those people populate the institutions that can change Sierra Leone. If you don't have a strong Inspector General of Police, law and order will fall. No matter how well trained the police are.
So, well, I think I'm sure viewers are also actually liking the conversation. So, as a professional, I'd like to also move the conversation on another side. What would be your words of encouragement to young people out there as a very young commissioner? What would be your words of encouragement to young people, youth? Because we know how active you are in the youthful space. So what will be your words of encouragement to them?
I have been giving a lot of lectures to young people. Trying to really raise in them the spirit of patriotism and the belief that the change that Sierra Leone needs rests on their shoulders. And my advice to them is for us to relive the Sankara dream. For us to look back at those people who lived before us, who were young, between the age of 30 and 37, Thomas Sankara changed Burkina Faso. He did not wait for old people to do it. Jerry Rawlings changed Ghana when he was in his 30s and became president twice. Many young people think that they have to wait to be old before they can carry out the change that the country needs. No. We can still support the older people from our respective positions, but we continue to show that we are the change that the country needs, and it will change. So I'm encouraging all of them to understand this, to stand up, to be ready, to basically demand a seat on the table and occupy it well. That way, the young people will be the force that Sierra Leone needs for change. And I have a lot of hope in the generations that are coming.
Okay, good. So finally, one of the things this platform provides is to be able to provide mentorship to young people. Now, as a professional, we're also asking if you are open to mentor people right from this platform, because we have a lot of young people that we groom from this platform. So we're also asking if you're open to mentorship in terms of young people in Sierra Leone.
Oh, yes. I mean, I have a lot of people who I mentor already. Both formally and informally. Some have not met. They just follow, watch how I do things and believe in it. But I am also ready to do the formal mentorship where I can meet with them in sessions, have conversations, to build their ability to lead in leadership, to build their confidence, to take up responsibility, and generally for them to seek excellence. So I am here and available.
Wow, okay. So we want to use this opportunity again to thank you so much for being part of the show today. It's been a pleasure having you on board.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kebe. You are a wonderful interviewer. Keep it up.
Thank
you to your team and everybody.
Thank you so much, sir.
Meet the Professionals is going to do great things for Sierra Leone, and I'm happy to be part of it. Thank you.
We thank you so much. So, viewers, this is where we draw down the curtains for today's edition of the program. It's Professionals. Today, we have been joined by the ACC, the Anti-Corruption Commission Commissioner, who is Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala, who has been taking us through his humble background to where he is now as a commissioner. He has been leading the fight against corruption, and he's been very much active in the space of mentorship. And again, he has been winning a lot of accolades within our country and as well as the continent. So till we meet again for another edition, I've been your host, IB Kebe. I thank you so very much.